So even though I know a lot of people are just going to be saving for Muramasa and like 2 of you guys are summoning for Vitra, I'm still going to go ahead and make this video for like the 4 of you that are actually going to go ahead and summon for Murasaki. Although I will say that while I think she is really good, I would advise that you save for someone like Muramasa. I've been using him for like 2 years. He's really good. The guy definitely lives up to the hype, and then right after him is Space Ishtar, so it's like you probably want to save for them, but maybe you're a whale, maybe you're a dolphin, maybe you just got a billion Saint Court saved up and you're going to throw a couple at Murasaki, and you happen to get her and you just want to know how good she is. Well, this video is right for you. Before we begin though, if you find these videos helpful and you enjoy daily FGO content, don't forget to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. And also peep the Twitch, which is linked down in the description down below, because I stream there every weekday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. With the introduction out of the way, let's go ahead and just start getting into this video, starting off with Murasaki's hits. And man, it's really jarring going from like a year 1 servant like Medusa to Murasaki over here, who's actually got some very solid hits on her. In fact, she's got 4 hits on everything except the extra attack that's got 5 hits on it, meaning that just in general, all of her hits are really strong, and her Brave Chains are going to be very good, especially when we get the Mighty Chain update that JP just recently got, because she's rocking at 10.7% star gen and 0.45% NP gain, and while those might not seem super high, the fact that she's got pretty decent hits on the quick cards does mean that she can kind of drop a few stars for herself. Nothing super crazy, but again, in a Brave Chain, it might look pretty decent. At least decent enough to kind of get her a couple of stars on those arts cards, because even though the natural NP gain is a little bit on the lower side, the fact that it does have 4 hits does mean the NP gain should be fine as long as you're critting. And also keep in mind, she does have a small passive arts buff. And again, because she's a caster, her natural star weight is actually pretty decent. So unless you're bringing like a bunch of riders or just rival casters around her, which you might be doing because let's face it, you might be using like Castoria with her or something like that, you won't have to fight too much for those stars. But then again, you could supplement her natural star gen that she's able to do in Brave Chains with like, say, a 20-30 on your Castorias or your Tamamos, something along those lines. Or just wait for Lady Avalon to come out and just use double of her with Murasaki, and then you'll just straight up be chilling. Then again, we really just want those stars to do crits on our arts card to refund our NP, but she's got stuff that's going to help her when it comes to refunding her NP. So let's just start moving into some of her skills so we can get to some of that stuff. So first and foremost, we have her first skill. This is already a very strong opening and kind of why I like Murasaki as more of a boss killing slash challenge quest type servant, because this is reducing all enemies defense by 30% for 3 turns and then giving the entire party a 30% demonic special damage mod for 3 turns on a 6-turn cooldown. Now, why would I like this on a challenge quest servant more than say a farming servant? I mean, Murasaki does have 6 hits on her NP, and you can, spoiler alert, use her for farming. Then again, pretty much any AoE art servant could be used for farming because Castoria is just that broken. But when it comes to like lowering the enemy's defense or like putting like a specific card type down on them, I typically like that more for challenge quests, because you can't actually carry that buff through all 3 turns, and that's kind of what you want when it comes to farming. Like you want like attack buffs or card buffs or NP damage buffs, right? Things that you can give to yourself that apply on every single turn. Or I don't know, if you just have some random buff that every time a turn starts, you just always hit the enemy with defense down, but that's like not really a thing. So typically you want this for like someone that you're going to be fighting for, say like 3 turns at a time, so you can really get the maximum value out of that defense down, because 30% is pretty decent. And again, that not only benefits Murasaki's damage, but the entire party's as well, and hence why she's also giving them a demonic special damage mod. Now, the servants you'll see aren't like the most diverse group of them, but there's quite a few that she actually does have like both type advantage and the special damage mod on, from like Shuten all the way down to Berserker Ibuki. So that's kind of nice. If any of them happen to be in like a farming node or something, you could maybe break out Murasaki for that. Because then even though that you can't like carry the, defense down through all 3 nodes, you could either save it for the last node or just pop it on the first node, get some good damage, and then use the demonic damage mod on the last people. Then again, she also has it on her NP, so I don't know if that really matters, but I also like the fact that she's able to kind of get in on a lot of those different extra class servants in here as well. So let's say you don't have anybody to take out Doman, you can kind of substitute in Murasaki, because he does have that demonic mod, and even though she's an AoE, the damage will still be pretty decent, at least decent enough to get her through the fight, especially in conjunction with some of her other skills. Speaking of some of those other skills, skill 2, again, very good when it comes to more challenging content, because she has an 80% chance to seal an enemy's NP for 1 turn, a 30% battery, and a 20% NP damage buff for 3 turns on a 6-turn cooldown. So the NP damage buff obviously kind of helps her out when it comes to farming, if again, you need to use her for that. She at least has some buff that she's giving to herself, so her damage isn't completely bad. And again, keep in mind that with someone like Castoria, who's also going to give her an attack buff and an arts buff, that's going to like multiply together because that's 3 different buff types. So her damage will be a bit better than what it might seem on like the NP damage chart. The battery is good for both. It's good for whether you want to do some farming if you're just missing out on that little bit of extra NP because maybe you only have an NP1 Murasaki, or if you want to use her in more difficult content and want to be able to spam your NP on that first turn. Also, keep in mind that because it is 30%, if you level up her append skill to its max level, she functionally has like a fake 50% battery, so that can combine with 50% starting charge CEs, and it's just generally very versatile if you want to go that route. But again, when it comes to actual challenging quests and like more difficult content, the fact that she can seal an enemy's NP, or at least has an 80% chance to do so, not only functions as survivability for her, but it also functions as survivability for the entire party. Again, let's say you're bringing her to like the end of Lost Belt 5.5 to fight Doman, and he needs to protect the entire party from getting blasted by his NP. Well, if you smack this on and it lands, congratulations, you've just bought the entire party an extra turn. So again, in general, while you can use her for stuff like farming, I think that's fine. I just really want to stress that I think this servant does a lot better when you use her in those more difficult quests where she can really flex all of her skills. Because even her third skill, right, this is pretty much only here to protect like the entire party with the 1000 damage cut for 3 attacks, the one-time debuff immunity that lasts for 3 turns, and the one-time 100% buff removal resistance that also lasts for 3 turns. Keep in mind, it's still one time, but just lasts for 3 turns, right? Once you use it, you used it. But then again, when it comes to things like debuff immunity or buff removal resistance, even though they're only one time, when you do use them, you probably needed to use them, right? Like if you pump this whenever you know an enemy boss is about to like say, have their break bar skill remove all of your buffs, you can pretty much circumvent all of that by popping this third skill, and that's becoming a bit more common with some bosses, whether it be on some random skill that they give to themselves for that fight, whether it be through their own NP, or just it's a break bar effect that they have. They love to remove all of our buffs, so that way they kind of slow us down, because like kind of the name of the game right now for FGO is that we went from like big one pump chumps that could just obliterate the boss in one hit, then we started getting break bars, so you wanted servants that could kind of be good for like 1 to 2 turns, and then now as the fights are getting longer and longer, you want servants that are good for like 3 to 5 turns, and so that's supposed to also kind of rein in that power, because, well, if you have like 80 buffs on your servant, but then the boss removes all of them, you're probably not going to be able to clear it in 3 turns because your damage just went down the gutter, and any like other buffs like refunding NP or refunding stars and stuff like that also went gone. So this is really good against those bosses. Also, a lot of bosses like to just put on some random debuff whenever their bar gets broken. Like in particular, like stuns and charms can be really annoying, or like on NP. Let's say even though you've got like Castoria's solemn defense up, they still hit you with like this AoE NP that might charm you or something. The debuff immunity can at least kind of mitigate a lot of that stuff. So just in general, her skills are very nice. Again, you can use her for farming. I just don't recommend that you do use that. If you want a farmer, go after someone like Space Ishtar in January, or even Muramasa, right, for New Year's. Because even her NP has like one of the most broken effects for challenge quests that I always stress this as soon as a servant does have this. Yeah, she does have the big demonic special damage mod on her NP. That's great, whoop-de-doo. But she also has the effect to inflict the entire enemy party with buff block, not for one instance, but for the entire turn. And because she is an art servant and spamming her NP is kind of the name of the game, if you can kind of keep spamming this NP, you can effectively lock the enemy party out of using any of their buffs or anything, which is insanely good because bosses either like to do like one or two things. They either love to spam defensive buffs and become so thick you can't take them out, or they just love to spam offensive buffs and start one-shotting all of your servants. And so this kind of puts a hard stop to that, and it can make a lot of bosses just way easier. All that being said though, I still think if you're like more of a free-to-play player or you got limited Saint Courts, that I would probably just wait for someone like Muramasa or Super Orion, who's also coming out for New Year's, or even Space Ishtar. Because when it comes to farming, you're going to get more bang for your buck from someone like Space Ishtar, or even Muramasa, as Muramasa stacks buffs every time he fires his NP, so when it comes to farming, he actually gets better as he clears each node. And then if you just need somebody to take out bosses, while Murasaki is really good, someone like Super Orion pretty much can fire his NP twice and just obliterate any boss in the game. So if you're looking for like someone to actually cheese and beat up bosses, you're probably better off going with Super Orion. But I don't also want to diminish how good Murasaki is. Like, she's legitimately a very powerful servant, and I don't think she gets enough love, but at the same time, I don't think she's worth summoning on, considering the other servants that are literally right around the corner. But let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Maybe I'm being a little too hard on Murasaki, maybe I'm not gassing her up enough, even though I felt I gave her a pretty fair assessment. Who knows? You let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel, and peep all those sussy links down in the description down below, because, oh yeah, your boy's also got a Patreon. I have not been plugging that at all, but some like other friends of mine that also do YouTube were like, hey man, you should probably do that, right? Like, you should probably go ahead and get that thing if people want to help you out. So I was like, all right, yeah, I'll do the thing. And then I've just forgotten to plug it at all, except for like in the Discord when I made it. So yeah, if you want to also do that, that's a thing. But yeah, with all that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here. You guys have yourselves a nice day. Peace, late guys.